I heard 4 minutes, so. We're going, we're live. Good morning. Good morning and welcome to First Unitarian Universalist Church of Nashville. My name is Jay Tiefenbrunn and I am very pleased to be your director of music ministries. I'd like to invite you to join us in singing this morning with hymn number 226 in your gray hymnals, People Look East. Please rise in body or in spirit as you're so moved and join in the singing. Song this morning is number 255, There's a Star in the East, hymn number 255. song this morning is in your order of service in the insert, While Shepherds Watched Their Flock.
Good morning. Please take a moment to greet one another.
Good morning.
In the presence of this spark, we are committed to light the fire of passion, of life, of holy work, to journey towards truth on sacred ground.
And you will notice we have a rosebud here today. It's kind of not an announcement because some of you have already met August McLeland, who was born in August. But today we're officially announcing her birth. Her parents are Kara and Ryan, who is back there. Hi, Ryan, and big sister Rooney. And of course, they're all doing well. It's exactly 4 months ago she was born. And now I'd like to join you, invite you to join in the spirit of worship. We're entering the season of winter stories from several faith traditions. And today we're singing one of those stories. And this is the, how to say it, opening, the first time that this has ever been sung. The premiere, that's the word I'm searching for. The premiere of this that our own Jay Tiefenbaum wrote for us. You've already started singing that story for today. And I would like to join us with opening words by Joy Harrow. The stuff I need for singing, by whatever means, is garnered from every thought, every heart that ever pounded the earth. The shapes of mountains, cities, a whistle leaf of grass, or a human bent with loss will revise the pattern of the story, the song. I take it from there, play through the heartbreak of the tenderness of being until I am the sky, the earth, the story, and the singer. So you've been hearing the story. The angels came. It was beautiful. It was light and full of noise. And then they were all gone. It was dark. It was chilly. And it was very, very quiet. There was a group of sheep and shepherds trembling, because it was awesome in the middle of vast plains. Well, eventually some of the shepherds stopped trembling and started saying to one another, well, maybe we should do what the angels told us to do. Maybe we should go to Bethlehem and see this thing that they spoke about, this new wonderful baby that has been born. And see, look, there's a star over Bethlehem, just like the angel said. And they all started getting ready to go. And then they looked, and there was one shepherd, Amos, who just stood there. He had his shepherd's staff with a hook, and he was just standing there firmly with the staff planted in the ground. I said, aren't you coming, Amos? He shook his head. No. And the elder of the shepherds looked at him and said, but you heard the songs, you heard saw the beauty. We should go. He says, I heard, but I'm staying here. And one of the other shepherds said, but it was a sign from God. The angels told us to go. It was an order. I mean, you don't say no to an angel. But it's not in my heart. It's not in my heart, said Amos. And one of them said, but you heard it, you saw it. It was glorious. It's not in my heart. "Oh," said one of the shepherds, the hills didn't fall apart, the sky didn't fall, the voice of the God thundered through the sky. What do you need? What do you need to do what it said?" He said, "I have need of a whisper. I have need of a whisper." So what would that whisper say to your meek little shepherd and your 100 sheep? Well, Amos didn't look very meek. He stood there very tall, and he said, "I think the whisper would say that I too am a God, and I'm a savior to my 100 sheep. Look at them. They're still trembling. They're terrified. Now, God is over in Bethlehem, busy, obviously. He doesn't care about my 100 sheep, but I am their caretaker. I need to stay and take care of them." Well, that did convince the other shepherds. They could see that their sheep too were still trembling from fear of all that light and noise. And so they quietly went up to him one by one and gave him a few instructions, like you would give to the babysitter before you went off to make sure they knew what they needed to do for their sheep. And then they left. And as they left, one of them said, "We're off to see wonders, Amos. You're going to see sheep." Well, Amos crouched down amongst the sheep, and there was hundreds of hundreds now. And he started to talk to them, and he had his way to talk to them. He clicked. Can some of you do that? Yeah. And as he clicked, he leaned down, and it soothed them. That's great. And it soothed them. And slowly, as the night went on, the sheep started to relax. Some of them started to graze on the grass. Some of them started to fall asleep. It was the middle of the night. And all was calm and peaceful. And as the sun started to rise, Amos thought, well, angels and all that singing is good enough for a lot of people, but shepherds is what a sheep needs. Well, as the sun came up, the rest of the shepherds came back, and they were excited. "Oh, we have seen glories," they said. "We have seen," well, it was a baby, but it was just a peasant baby like us. But there was a star overhead, and there were other kings, like kings that looked like kings, giving rich gifts. It was amazing. And then one of them goes, "So, what wonders happened here with you and your 100 sheep?" And Amos had something in his hand. He said, "Well, it's 101 sheep now, because just before dawn, this little lamb was born." And isn't it cute? Isn't it cute? Okay. And one of the shepherds go, "Okay, so were there songs, great music to announce your little lamb's birth?" And Amos said, "To my heart came a whisper." And so ends our story. And we're going to sing our children to church school with a song on the inside back cover of your gray hymnal.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Joelle Smith-Bourne. I am co-chair with Andy Collins of the Lead Ministers Advisory Committee, and it is my pleasure to welcome you here in the sanctuary and those joining us online to worship this morning. In order to reach a wider community than those able to be physically present on Sunday morning, our services are live streamed on YouTube and Facebook. Joys and concerns are not live streamed or recorded. Before I continue, let me remind you to silence your cell phones. As Unitarian Universalists, our spiritual paths vary, but in this congregation we have made a covenant together. We affirm our interdependence, celebrate our differences, and work for justice. We are a welcoming congregation, and we deepen our relationships as we serve our congregation's mission to create community, nurture spiritual growth, and act on our values in the broader world, guided by reason and compassion. I want to extend a special welcome to visitors worshiping with us this morning. We ask you to wear the paper name tags because it helps us to recognize you as someone we'd like to meet. If you are seeking a spiritual home, we hope that you may find it here. Whether you are new to Unitarian Universalism or visiting from another UU congregation, we invite you to stop by the welcome table after the service to have questions answered. All are welcome to attend our church, and people become members of this congregation by signing the membership book and supporting the church with their time and finances. If you are considering joining our church, please talk to our Assistant Minister, Denise Couch. Following the service, we hope everyone will enjoy coffee and fellowship in the social hall, where you will also find information about current opportunities for engagement and reflection. There are many announcements in the weekly bulletin, which I hope you will take home and read, and I have been asked to highlight one of these. Lead Minister Reverend Gail Seavey hosts informal office hours today, 12:30 to 2:30 p.m. in her office located in the Norris House. Join her for 10 to 20-minute one-on-one conversations on a first-come basis. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm David Dickinson, a slightly eccentric bike guy, and
I'm Kathy Gonski, and we're both members of First UU, and we're also co-chairs of the Environmental Action Team, ENACT, which is a social justice committee.
ENACT began to get organized in September, and we're here to tell you what it is that we're planning to do and to invite any who are interested to join us. Our aim is to help our church carry out our activities in ways that better align with our seventh principle, respect for the interconnected web of all existence of which we are a part. We're collaborating with the Urban Green Lab, a community organization that's seeking to address these issues with nonprofit and profit groups across the city. We're planning to educate our community, adults and children and youth, about environmental issues through 10 to 15-minute ENACT conversations, the first of which will be held today at 12:30, hopefully in the fireside room. We'll find a place. With a page in the bi-monthly newsletter, we're going to place notices in church bulletin, have handouts at the social justice table, post information and inspiring articles in the ENACT Facebook page, of which you can all join. It's a closed page. All you have to do is write Sherry DiGiovanni and you can join the crowd. When possible, we're going to have some workshops and maybe one or two field trips that relate to the current topics. We're going to launch a number of initiatives within the church. You're going to see our cute little logo that we've developed. We're going to generate education-related activities that involve children and youth through education and activities on our campus. And finally, we're going to share notices that provide encouragement to engage in policy-related activity.
Our plan is to identify environment-related issues that we can address in our church and personal lives, and for 2 to 3 months, provide education and suggestions through the various activities that David just mentioned. Our focus for November, December is on more sustainable holidays. We've already initiated a number of actions related to this theme. Patrick King of Urban Green Lab presented at an ENACT ENACT meeting to share information and ideas that we can then share with you. ENACT had a one-page insert in the recent First UU NASH newsletter that contained information and tips, and this insert, by the way, will become a regular feature of upcoming newsletters. Somebody's got one back there, it looks like. Yesterday at the annual holiday craft fair, we gave away free recycled wrapping paper and a tip sheet and sold these wonderful reusable cotton bags with our new logo on them. These bags and soon mesh veggie bags, storage bags, will be available for purchase at the social justice table in the social hall. We will be developing ways to connect ENACT's focus topic to the RE classes. And finally, we plan to offer periodic ENACT conversations. These will be less than 30 minutes, and the conversations during which we will share information and suggestions with you. And as David already mentioned, he will be leading the first one of these today at 12:30, and we do hope in the fireside room. And it's going to relate to consumption and holiday activities. And it will be offered again next Sunday, December 15th at 10:30, and after this week's Wednesday night dinner. In January and February, our focus will turn to recycling.
Now, I have an urgent, late-breaking public service announcement. It has been determined that UUs suffer from periodic environmental guilt, and that environmental guilt has many sources. One source is when you're standing at the checkout station at a Macy's or Target or any one of a number of other places where you meekly see your goods being shoved into yet another plastic bag, and you don't have your grocery bag with you because that's only for groceries. Should you choose to purchase one of these bags, this can be your alternative bag. You take it with you everywhere so you don't accumulate more plastic bags. Okay, final note. We want to find out the attitudes and practices of our group, and to that end, we have a survey that John Harkey has helped create through SurveyMonkey. And at the end of the service, we're going to have URLs for that survey available at the social justice table. For those of you who don't do computer online stuff, we're going to have some hard copies of the survey. Sherry is also going to send out an email throughout the church. It's going to be posted on the church webpage, and Sherry can communicate all kinds of things. Please take it once, but please take it, because we would like to accumulate the results, and then that'll be part of our feedback to us about where we stand at this point. Thank you.
How much are the bags? $10.
And the money goes to ENACT to help support our activities.
I invite you now to take a moment, take a breath, or two or three, as many as you'd like. Settle yourselves here. Know that you are part of this gathered community. And as we gather this morning, we all have our 100 sheep that we bring with us, the things about which we care, the people for whom we are responsible or whose lives touch ours, the things we worry about. So it may be as you come here today that maybe one or two of those 100 are really heavy with you or very, very light with you. If you have a profound joy or a sorrow that you would like to share with this community, you are invited to come forward and place a stone in this bowl of water. We're in a slightly different place today, but there's a bowl of water still, and there's a basket of stones, and our lay minister, Jean Klein, will help you with that. You could put a stone in the water, which is symbolic of our gathered community. If you would, there. If you would like to have your joy or your concern spoken aloud to the congregation, there are yellow slips of paper in the pocket in the pew in front of you. If you will write legibly of your joy, your concern, your sorrow, Jean and I will read those aloud to the congregation. You can hand that slip to me as you come forward to place your stone. and all the other things that we carry in our hearts together in this community of prayer, let us join. Spirit of life and love, we bring into the sanctuary this morning all the connections that we each have individually to the world. We are grateful for the connections that bring us here this morning, for the chance to be together, to share our joys and our sorrows, to learn about the things for which we care and how to care more deeply and more effectively. We are glad to stand with the families of those whose elders are making transitions from this life. We are glad to celebrate the smaller transitions also. We ask that you help us bring what we learned this morning during this hour to a world in need of more light and more healing and more joy. Amen. May it be so. May we be so. In just a moment, our ushers will come among us with the offering bowls. If you need instructions for online giving, you are encouraged to find them anytime at all on our website, firstuunash.org. You may know that we share a portion of every Sunday's collection with an organization that furthers something in line with our values outside this congregation's walls. For the month of December, we are partnering with Nurses for Newborns, who do wonderful work serving families with very young infants. And you can read more about their good work in your order of service. As always, your generosity, like your presence among us, is received with gratitude.
I'd like to invite you to join us in singing our hymn, "The Hills Are Bare in Bethlehem," to set the scene. Number 232 in the gray hymnal. Please rise in body or in spirit as you're so moved and join in the singing.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you, choir. She wanted this to end with some meditation, but we're just overwhelmed with gratitude to all of you. And I had to stop crying before I could talk. So, thank you. To my heart, there came a whisper. How many of us spend time listening to our heart? How many of us hear those whispers? I think Jay heard a whisper, and it whispered what we just heard here today. You know, we're taught a lot about not listening to our heart. I know when I grew up, I was taught that that was just woman's intuition and that it was irrational, and so we weren't supposed to listen. Some of you here have told me you were taught at church not to listen. You had no silent time in church because you were only supposed to listen to the words from the authorities in church, the Bible or the minister, and your own heart could only be words from the devil. And how many of us are taught to discern the voices that we hear? Because, yes, our heart whispers to us, but our head is so full of voices that come from so many places that maybe aren't as good guides as that heartfelt whisper was to Amos. Now, I don't think it's a surprise that the storyteller used the word Amos, because Amos was a Jewish prophet, and I believe this story is drawing upon a different tradition than the ones that I heard and some of you heard growing up. In the prophetic tradition, there are many stories about people hearing the voice of God, something that some of us would call conscience, that leads them to take a stand for something that's about love or justice that maybe no one else agrees with. And that has been described as a gentle whisper or the still small voice. My favorite of those stories is the story of Elijah, who spoke that voice out loud, that whisper to the king, and the king wanted to kill him. It's not always popular to speak up from your heart. And so Elijah escaped to a mountain, a holy mountain, way out in the wilderness, and he was praying to hear the voice, that whisper again, so that he would know how to proceed. And the story goes, there was a great wind. So it's like a tornado or a line, one of those line winds. And God was not in that wind. And then there was an earthquake. And the voice of God was not in the earthquake. So these big, noisy things. And then there was a fire full of light and heat, and God was not in the fire. And then after the fire, a great silence fell over the earth. And then Elijah heard a gentle whisper in his heart, and God was in that whisper. That is the tradition that this story refers to and is calling us all in this season of holidays with great stories, great noise, great music and sound and light, to listen in the dark at times to our heart. Go to a still place and listen to the whisper that comes from within. So we know how to live with integrity, to make choices on what we do with our lives that come from everything that we know. The time 2,000 years ago that these Christmas stories come from wasn't unlike our time in some ways. It was very unlike our time in others. But it was a time of empire, of great wealth and great poverty, a time of great changes culturally, a time of a lot of fear. Those angels sang, "Fear not, fear not, fear not." And we live in a time where we hear so much noise that makes us afraid. Makes us afraid. It's political noise. It's noise of wealth, that we need to buy lots of things and look a certain way. It's spread out there in so many ways. We don't always have angels, but we certainly have I was thinking of all the social media, which you all think of, but even just the billboards all over town. I mean, just everything is buy, buy, buy. This is the way we need to be. And yes, in this holiday time, we try to hold both this joy, this time to connect with people, to party, to have fun, and that is wonderful, those connections. But we're trying to hold that with integrity as our people from ENACT are talking about? How do we hold that with integrity as we're worried about our climate emergency, our politics, afraid for democracy, afraid for our future? So, thanks to Jay, we've been invited in this choir to spend some time intentionally this holiday season to enjoy the long, dark nights, to enjoy the silence of those nights, and to listen to our hearts so that to you may come a whisper. Listen, listen. May it be so.
I have many people passing me notes reminding me to remind you that Music Sunday is when we collect additional funds for our music program to pay our guest musicians, and there will be choir members and baskets by the exits as you leave if you feel moved to contribute. Thank you for your support. Our final hymn is number 391 in the gray hymnal, Voice Still and Small. We'll sing through it twice. Voice still and small. Please rise in body or in spirit as you're so moved.
Words for the chalice extinguishing are printed at the bottom of your order of service. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment.
These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. And I'd like to close with these words by William Henry Channing. To live content with small means, to seek elegance rather than luxury, and refinement rather than fashion, to be worthy, not respectable, and wealthy, not rich, to study hard, think quietly, talk gently, act frankly, to listen to stars and birds, to babes and sages with open heart, to bear all cheerfully, to do all bravely, await occasions, hurry never, to let the spiritual unbidden and unconscious grow up through the common, This is to be my cantata. This story is over. This service is over. Let ours begin again, renewed.